Oh, Bill?
Yes. No, no. Yes, it is that.
I took a picture of her. Yeah, but yeah, she wrote back.
Is that a 511? No, your shirt.
No.
Other than the first one. I think it's close enough. We'll go ahead and start this meeting. Call the meeting to order for the special council meeting of September 20th, 2022. I would like to invite Captain Landon to lead us in the pledge.
Honorable Mayor, council members, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jennifer, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Bogue,
Here.
Councilmember Duncan, Councilmember Thorpe,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaver,
Here.
Mayor Avila.
Here. Mr. Casey, any changes to the agenda?
No changes recommended by staff this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I have no speakers up here, and I don't see anybody, perhaps the news. Do you have anything that you want to say for 3 minutes? Okay, very good. We'll go ahead and move on to department reports. First one, Member Casey. Mr. Casey, ratification of disaster proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As City Council is aware, we unfortunately have experienced some significant mud flows, silt deposit, emergency response relative to citizens in our community and just outside our community as a result of the event that happened on September 14th, Wednesday. It happened just before that. We proclaimed the local emergency on the 14th, but the event itself happened several days before that. We worked, our emergency response folks, police, fire, public works, and others worked in partnership with the county in getting to folks that needed to get out of their homes and help to do the immediate cleanup necessary to support that. In addition, city public works staff did silt removal, mud removals on city streets. The county did some of that as well, of course, but it certainly had an impact on Forest Falls, on Oakland, and on Potato Creek and along Potato Creek to Oakland Creek into the city of Yucaipa. So there were some immediate response costs associated with this disaster in that manner. But in addition, as a result of the event, we had significant mud flows again along both Potato Creek into Oakland Creek, ultimately into the Oakland Creek Basin, and into the Wilson 3 Basin system again. The channel improvements that were just completed in the Wilson Creek channel system and basin system. I'd like to show you a few slides. I think part of the information here is a comparison with what happened in 1969, which was certainly a larger event than this event, but somewhat similar in nature in that the rainfall occurred up in the foothills north and east of, mostly east of Yucaipa, and resulted in mud flows and rainfall, stormwater runoff in our channels at that time, as evidenced by the pictures you're about to see. But this one in particular, and that was a little bit larger area, it included both the Wilson Creek and the Wildwood Creek watershed. This one was primarily or solely, I guess, in the Wilson Creek, Oakland Creek watershed, which comes together at the Wilson 3 Basin project. And so the mud flows that started in some cases, started in Oak Glen, well, most cases, started in Oak Glen, ended up in our Oakland Creek Basin system, and then those that started in a fire-scarred area of the upper North Bench ended up through Wilson Creek in our Wilson 3 Basin system. And a total of 40 to 50,000 cubic yards of mud was deposited in those two basins or two basin systems, as opposed to what happened in '69. Without those systems, that mud kept flowing all the way down in the Dunlap area, and as you had some impacts there. So we'll show you a little bit this evening of what happened in '69 versus what happened in this storm, but those systems worked. Those basin systems worked. Now we've got to seek help from Cal OES and others to remove the material in those basins. I do want to make one point. We have learned that the San Bernardino County Flood Control District is going to take the lead on the basin, the material removal in the Oakland Creek Basin, so we would fall under their disaster reimbursement request with OES. Wasn't sure about that when we did the staff report yesterday. So that still is a part of the damage that happened in the city of Yucaipa. But because through an agreement, they have the lead on operation and maintenance of that Oakland Creek Basin system, they'll take the lead on seeking reimbursement. So that's an update to what we knew yesterday for sure. With that, I'd like to show you just a few slides. Of course, this is the 1969 Dunlap Elementary School and the impacts there, impacts in the Dunlap area in general. You've seen these slides before, probably. Of course, some of the names are a little different now. So this is the mud flow from the September 2022 event. Of course, the one on the upper right is near the Oakland Steakhouse. Just gives you an idea of how much mud was flowing and how it looked at that upper end. But it spread out as it went further downstream. The left is, I think, can you go back? Pendleton, sorry. There you go. Is it Pendleton, I think? And then Oakland Road. And you can see the massive amount of mud flow that ended up heading in our direction. Go ahead. Just some examples. Some of these were out just outside the city limits, but still an idea of the impacts along the private properties along Oakland Road. Keep going. We had significant mud flows through the Fremont, the new low water crossing or the new bridge that we built here recently, but it all functioned properly. And that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to see. Keep going. So here's where it ended up. It ended up in the Oakland Creek Basin system, and then you'll see a slide with the Wilson 3 Basin system. And so in total, we're estimating somewhere between 40 and 50,000 cubic yards of material was deposited there. Better there than downstream, and this is Wilson Creek after the events. And you can see that none of the mud passed along into the Dunlap area. And of course, that's the hotel on the left-hand side that we think in the right side picture, left-hand side of the channel, that we hope will be opened up here in October, November. So no damage there, no impacts there, and the systems upstream worked. So I think that's it, right? Happy to answer any questions you may have, but the disaster declaration is an important, and ratification is an important element of seeking reimbursement through the state, and we believe that there's a very, very good likelihood that we'll get reimbursement for these costs for both the emergency response and for the cleanup afterwards, including the work yet to be done.
All right, thank you. Any questions of staff? Do I hear a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Ray, will you read the official language?
So the recommendation this evening is that City Council adopt resolution number 2022-54, ratifying the proclamation of the existence of a local emergency by the city manager, and 2, approve and authorize the city manager to sign the CDAA request letter to California Governor's Office of Emergency Service, and that's seeking that reimbursement I talked about.
All right, if no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry it. Thank you very much. Fermin Preciado, you're up for the final parcel map, 18533.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Tentative parcel map 18533 was conditionally approved by the Planning Division in 2007. And since then, the developer or applicant has been working to meet all the conditions of approval for this final map, and they have been met, including the construction of the street improvements along the property frontage. The property is located at the southeast corner of Cedar Avenue and California Street, and it proposes to divide the property into 3 parcels. Staff's recommendation is that City Council approve recommendations 1 through 3 as listed in the report.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions of staff? Just real fast, it's been a tentative map since 2007?
Yes.
Okay, and there's, all right. If I don't see anybody wish to speak. So if no further questions, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Have a first?
I'll second.
Mr. Thorpe seconds. If no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes carry it. Number 3, Fermin, once again, equipment purchase.
Yes, thank you. The existing playground equipment at the community center park is over 20 years old and has exceeded its useful life. Staff is recommending the replacement of the equipment with new playground equipment. 3 quotes were requested, or quotes were requested from vendors, and 3 quotes were received. The proposed equipment does include 2 separate structures to replace the 2 existing structures that are there. 1 structure for younger kids, 2 to 5 years of age, the larger structure for kids 5 to 12 years of age. And staff believes that the play features that are included in the models proposed by Miracle Recreation Equipment, option 1, they are the most appropriate for the park users at the community park. The recommendation is that City Council approve the purchase of replacement playground equipment from Miracle Recreation Equipment in the amount of $155,586.93. The adopted fiscal year 22-23 budget includes funding in the amount of $170,000 specifically budgeted for the replacement playground equipment, so there's sufficient funding available to accommodate staff's recommendation. The recommendation before you is that City Council approve and authorize the city manager to execute the acquisition of the replacement playground for the community center park from Miracle Recreation Equipment in the amount of $155,586.93. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Fermin. Any questions of staff? Real fast, Fermin, are those 2 tot parks that's directly in front of the south parking lot of the community center where the dinosaur is, or the alligator?
Yes.
Okay. Good, because I had a complaint from a 3-year-old. All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have first and a second. If no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry it. Baby doll will be happy. All right, number 4, Fermin, once more, right-of-way acquisition.
Thank you. The subject property is located near the intersection of Avenue E and 5th Street, and it is required for the construction of the Avenue E intersection improvement project. Bryant Street to Fifth Street. And this property is required specifically for the proposed roundabout at Avenue E and Fifth. 11 right-of-way easements are required for the overall project. With the approval of this proposed purchase and sale agreement, all of the 11 easements will have been acquired, and we can move into the construction phase. This property was the subject of a resolution of necessity that City Council adopted back in August 8th. And the purpose of that was to initiate the eminent domain process. Following that council action, city staff was able to negotiate with the property owner for the purchase of the property in the amount of $442,000. That amount, it is based on an appraisal, and that appraisal has been reviewed by the city attorney's office, and also it was reviewed and accepted by city council. The property is currently being leased by the property owner to a tenant, so the recommendation before you does include a recommendation to approve relocation expenses up to the amount of $53,000. That amount is consistent with a relocation plan that City Council reviewed and approved in August of 2021 for the Avenue E project right-of-way acquisition. The fiscal table on page 50 identifies that there is sufficient funding in the fiscal year 22-23 CIP budget for this proposed acquisition. It is important to note that the funding sources that are identified on that table do not include funding from the general fund, and currently staff will be seeking additional funding for the construction of this project, the overall project, and the funding may be in the form of Measure I arterial funding, additional advanced expenditure Measure I funding, or SB1 funding. If approved, staff will return to council in the near future with a recommendation regarding the sale of the property, of the remainder property that is not required for the project. Staff recommends that City Council approve recommendations 1 through 3 for this item. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Nothing? No public comment, I assume? All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. If no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes carry it. Okay, we move on to announcements. Are there any announcements from City Council? Yes, yes, of course. That's going to be a good one, another good one. Okay, if no further announcements, gentlemen, thank you for your patience and time. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Captain and Lieutenant, for being here. You good, Greg?
I'm good. Yeah.